The story of My Hero Academia has certainly come a long way from its humble beginnings at this point, and as fans we have been able to observe our various characters grow in terms of both experience and power. Our hero hopefuls and even the League of Villains have for the most part all gotten stronger, and this is pretty typical of a shonen story. Such progression is a given. However, considering the general simplicity of this world's power system in the form of quirks, there is only so far any given character may go in terms of their physical capabilities. And although we absolutely love My Hero Academia over here on Plot Armor, which I'm sure you can tell from all our videos covering the series, we'll be the first to admit that fights in My Hero Academia are pretty awful. And if we're being brutally honest, of all the popular shonen out there, My Hero Academia has the worst fights by far. Now, before anyone misunderstands what we mean by this, we are specifically referring to the technical side of things, not the emotional and or situational stakes at hand. Because if we look at things in that way, the conversation changes entirely. In fact, I'd go as far as to argue that the stakes and emotions associated with any given fight in the series are so well done that they are able to distract from how uninteresting the actual combat itself may be. And as far as I'm concerned, the simplicity of the power system is somewhat to blame here. Take Shoto for instance. This is one of the more powerful and capable members of Class 1A who possesses a rather impressive quirk, the potential of which Endeavor even believed would one day rival the power of All Might. When it comes to facing threats such as Sero or even Ida, Shoto's ice alone is enough to virtually one-shot them. But when faced by more dexterous and or troublesome threats, Shoto struggles but ultimately just spams either his fire or his ice until he deals some damage. And that's pretty boring. Now compare that to someone like Prince Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. The general themes and experiences of these two characters and their stories are rather similar, yet even disregarding Zuko's lack of ice manipulation, there is a very noticeable difference between the two when it comes to combat. In the world of Avatar, elemental bending is very closely related to martial arts, and it shows. I mean, even when Zuko is recklessly blasting fire, you can see the frustration of his movements. Every motion, every attack has weight and meaning behind it. If we then take a look at the Naruto series, the abilities present in the world are rather vast and diverse indeed, but more than just throwing around the strongest jutsu a shinobi may have at their disposal, we have taijutsu. In most cases, it's not so heavily explored that we get to see everyone practicing their hand-to-hand combat, but even still, it is generally the base expectation of a character. Now granted, some are experts in the field, placing greater emphasis on its mastery than ninjutsu, but at the very least, just about anyone can throw hands, and that makes things really fun to watch. There's not always a deep meaning behind each and every movement, but even without any supporting context, these fights are visually stimulating in the same way that an action scene from an old kung fu movie would be. That being said, when the story does seek to emphasize circumstance and emotions, the movements of these characters are able to tell a wordless story all on their own. Now, to be fair, these sentiments towards My Hero Academia's fights are not new. We have felt this way for quite some time now. However, the reason we now feel that we need to bring attention to this aspect is because it has only gotten worse as the series has progressed. Again, this is the fault of simplicity. The most powerful quirks in the series leave absolutely no room for good combat. And that is because the most powerful quirks in the series are all able to one-shot. If Shigaraki touches you, you are dead. If you touch something that Shigaraki's decay has spread to, you are dead. If Overhaul touched you back when he had his arms, you would be dead. If Eri touches you and rewinds far back enough, you are dead. If Deku lands a direct hit with a 100% smash, the vast majority of combatants would be a bug on a windshield or dead. And for as exciting and or cool as that may be on paper, in practice, it is very uninteresting. So much so that fights with these characters all essentially just boil down to a glorified game of tag. And sadly, this has been the case since the Overhaul arc. And at the time, it was cool and exciting, but once Pandora's box has been opened, it cannot be closed back again. However, one way other series have managed to circumvent such issues would be the addition of a supplementary power system, an equalizer of sorts that provides another layer of depth to combat. An example of which stemming from the Haki system present in One Piece. Truthfully, Devil Fruit abilities and quirks aren't all too different from one another, and so I definitely believe my hero could have benefited from such a thing. However, because Horikoshi initially intended for the series to be far shorter than it actually ended up being, I understand why this is not the case. But as I'm sure I've said a number of times on the channel before, considering how My Hero Academia fights work, I really don't see why a quirkless hero is believed to be an impossibility. If not a supplementary power system, there's always support items. And as we have come to know, technology in the world of My Hero Academia can do some pretty crazy things. And for as strong as characters like Deku may be at this point, the guy does not know how to fight. At least not really. Let me explain. Outside of plot armor, why is Batman able to piece Superman up when he has kryptonite on him? Because Batman is a master martial artist, meanwhile Superman is just really strong. And so with all this being said, I can say that I'm all too excited for the actual final battles of the series. And again, I do not mean that in its totality, but rather on a technical level. What I'm more likely to be interested in would be the build up towards said events and the contextual impact of them. One for all versus all for one at this rate might just be an extreme game of rock paper scissors decided by a single round. But you know what, just because we're able to recognize faults in things that we enjoy does not mean that we don't enjoy them. In fact, it is only because we are so invested in the series that we are able to uncover things like this, both good and bad. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the discussion regardless. If you did, there are plenty more to be had over on Twitter and Instagram, and even our Discord linked in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to Plot Armor with notifications on, because things are getting crazier and crazier with the series right now, and you won't want to miss any of it. Because when it comes to bringing you some of the best My Hero Academia content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.